Russia, the world's largest country. Once feared, once untouchable. A giant stretching across the earth. It spans 11 time zones, armed with nearly 6,000 nuclear warheads, enough to destroy the world many times over. Beneath its soil, oceans of oil and rivers of gas lie hidden, the lifeblood of its power. But cracks are spreading beneath the surface. The giant is beginning to stumble. The economy shrinks, shops close, families struggle, and the population fades, leaving villages silent and empty. The war in Ukraine was meant to be quick. Instead, it became a wound that refuses to heal. Every day, soldiers fall. Every day, billions are drained. The world no longer asks if Russia is strong. It asks if Russia can even survive. On paper, Russia still looks powerful. It is one of the world's largest energy exporters, and spends over $100 billion on defense. But this is an illusion of strength. Numbers hide a fragile reality. In 2013, Russia's economy was worth $2.3 trillion. Today, it's closer to $1.7 trillion, a decade of lost growth, erased by war, corruption, and sanctions. Imports of Western technology have collapsed by nearly half. The ruble has lost 40% of its value since 2021. Families now pay double for bread, meat, and medicine. The war turned into the most expensive campaign in modern Russian history. Western intelligence says more than 350,000 soldiers are dead or wounded. The Kremlin spends $300 million every single day to keep the war alive. Money once meant for schools and hospitals now fuels tanks and rockets. Factories strip washing machines and refrigerators for microchips to build missiles. Sanctions have cut Russia off from the modern world. More than 1,000 foreign companies have left since 2022. Car production collapsed by 60%, the steepest fall in its history. Inflation rose above 12%, crushing savings and wages. The ruble, once promoted as stable, has lost nearly 40% of its value. Oil is still sold to China and India, but only at deep discounts. Europe, once Russia's biggest customer, cut gas imports from 40% to less than 15%. The nation cannot finance a war and a modern state with a shrinking, isolated economy forever. But Russia's most dangerous crisis isn't sanctions. It's demographics. Its population is shrinking, aging, and fleeing. In 1991, Russia had 148 million people. Today, it has only 141 million. By 2050, the number may fall below 120 million. Every year, the country loses 700,000 people to low births, high deaths, and migration. Russian men live on average only 66 years, one of the lowest in the developed world. The war has accelerated the decline. Hundreds of thousands fled to avoid mobilization. Russia is collapsing not just on the battlefield, but in the cradle and in the home. Politically, the Kremlin projects control. But cracks are appearing in the image of unshakable power. The Wagner mutiny in June 2023 shook the nation. Mercenaries marched on Moscow, exposing how fragile the system really is. Putin's grip looked weaker than ever. Regional governors face unrest and shrinking budgets. The oligarchs, once the system's backbone, are losing wealth and influence. Sanctions seized their villas, yachts, and fortunes abroad. Behind polished speeches, Russia looks brittle. If Putin's grip fails, Russia may not simply change leaders. It may unravel as a state. Western leaders fear a Yugoslavia with nukes. Regions like Chechnya, Dagestan, or Siberia could break away. And in the chaos, nuclear weapons may be left unsecured. A superpower unraveling is far more dangerous than a stable adversary. The collapse of Russia would not stay inside Russia. Energy markets would be thrown into chaos. Russia supplies 10% of the world's oil. A collapse could drive prices sky high and trigger a global recession. Central Asia could fall under China's shadow. NATO would face instability across its eastern flank. Terrorist groups could rise in lawless Russian regions. And the most terrifying scenario: nuclear weapons without control. There are only three possible futures. First, managed decline. Russia survives as a weak client under China. Second, violent collapse, revolts, secessions, civil war. This is the nightmare that haunts Western leaders. Third, frozen stagnation. Russia never fully collapses, but never recovers. It becomes a giant North Korea. Isolated, poor, but still dangerous. Behind these scenarios lies the daily struggle of ordinary Russians. A mother in St. Petersburg searching for medicine no longer found in pharmacies. A father in Yekaterinburg whose salary buys half the food it once did. A student in Moscow dreaming of leaving because his future feels suffocated. These lives tell the real story of collapse, not missiles or tanks, but the erosion of hope. The world watches in unease, knowing collapse would shake far more than Russia itself. A nation that once held the power to decide the fate of the world now struggles to hold itself together. Its power was always an illusion, strength hiding deep fragility. If collapse comes, it will not be quiet. It will shake markets, topple governments, and redraw alliances. The shockwaves will be felt from Washington to Beijing, from Berlin to Delhi. The collapse of a superpower would test the global order in ways we cannot predict. For the West, it means a dangerous vacuum. For China, a chance to rise. For ordinary people, it means instability, hunger, and fear. History has seen empires fall before. The Soviet Union itself collapsed in 1991. But never has a nuclear superpower been so fragile, so exposed. The world's greatest fear is not Russia's strength, but its weakness. Weak states make desperate choices. And desperation, mixed with nuclear power, is a terrifying combination. The question is no longer about Russia's strength. It is about Russia's survival. Will it hold together for decades more? Or will it shatter suddenly, leaving chaos in its wake? If collapse comes, the consequences will not stop at Russia's borders. It will touch every corner of the world. And so the world is left with one haunting question. Is Russia truly on the brink of collapse? Or will it cling to survival, no matter the cost?